I recently rewatched Captain America the First Avenger, and I believe it actually got better with age. And while I was watching it, I kind of remembered there was a game that released at the same time. The more I play movie tie-in games, the more I just hope for the game to not simply suck major ass. Great movie tie-in games are few and far between, but the Captain America character lends itself nicely for a video game. He's got super abilities, he's strong, he's fast, he has great fighting skills, and of course, let's not forget about the shield. After looking at the trailer, I was building up a little bit more confidence, like this game could actually be good. And it was made by so it can't be that bad, right? So, join me as I take a look at Captain America Super Soldier. Captain America Super Soldier released alongside the movie in 2011 for Nintendo DS, PlayStation 3, Wii, Xbox 360, and the Nintendo 3DS. The version you're currently seeing is the PS3 version. That's the one I played, and I found it to be a bit choppy, especially in some of the cutscenes. And from what I could tell, the 360 version was a bit smoother. I looked up what the Wii one looked like, and I have no idea what the hell is going on. It just looks totally different. It's way more cartoony. There's a giant arrow pointing where to go. I don't know. It's a whole different thing. But other than the choppiness, I thought this looked okay. If you remember, the 3D visuals was a big thing back then in the early 2010s. Everyone thought that 3D was going to be the future. Many people by now would have bet that by now we would have glassless, is that how you say that? Glassless 3D TV screens in our homes. But that is obviously not the case. And because that's not the case, I actually couldn't test out this whole 3D capability thing. Hey, but it has it. Let me know down in the comments if anyone of you still have a 3D capable TV. I don't feel like those live that long. I'm super curious. Do they still work? Anyway, the story of the PlayStation 3 and 360 is basically the same. The game takes place within the movie and you are quickly thrusted into war. So if you were expecting some skinny Chris Evans, I am very sorry to inform you that he's not there. You will hear Chris Evans though, alongside Neil McDonough, Sebastian Stan, Kenneth Cole, and JJ Field. They all reprise their roles.
Copy. Maintain schedule. By the time they get here, the skies will be clear. Captain America out.
And of course, we can't forget about the amazing Haley Atwell as Peggy Carter. Unfortunately, there's no character model for her, which sucks. You can only hear her through voice comms.
Rogers, it's Peggy. I've got some last-minute things to go over before the drop. We've confirmed our analysis of the munitions you recovered last night.
She's hot. The mission is that you're tracking down little Elon Musk, Dr. Arnim Zola. Remember him from the movie? So he discovers his Masterman project where he wants to achieve immortality. So after a fight with Baron Wolfgang von Strucker, Cap gets knocked out and wakes up in Zola's lab, with Iron Cross and Madam Hydra there, as Zola extracted some of Cap's blood to recreate the super soldier serum. Cap breaks out and goes to rescue Bucky and finds out that Dum Dum Dugan and Fallsworth were captured as well. So you set out to rescue the rest of the crew, all while uncovering more Hydra plans involving the Cosmic Cube, aka the Tesseract, and trying to figure out what this whole sleeper thing is. We do see Red Skull in the game, and even though he's treated as like a big bad, you don't really interact with him that much. Zola is viewed more like the villain in the game, which I find a little bit odd. Especially at the end of the game, it was kind of left open, like there was more stuff that was going to happen, like something's being teased.
We will be seeing him again soon enough.
Maybe it's referring to the movie. I don't know. That would have been cool if there's like, oh, to seek the conclusion of the story, go watch the movie. It would have been something different. I've never seen that before. But honestly, the story of the game is whatever. It fits within the context of the movie, so that's good. The thing that really matters is the gameplay. And I must admit, it started off pretty rocky for me. I was just not a fan of how he moves. His walking animation doesn't really fit him. He moves fast, but there's actually no weight to him. I know this might be something stupid to most, but it just bugged me personally. It just makes him look and feel smaller than he actually is. You know, he's a big buff dude. I kind of wanted him to kind of walk and feel like a big buff dude. Plus you couple that with a weirdly jerky camera, and I was really concerned about the quality of this game early on. So then you're immediately faced with some combat, and the first thing that came to mind once I started throwing hands was Batman Arkham Asylum. That game had been released 2 years before this, and it's no surprise that many games after Arkham Asylum decided to try to copy the combat. Of course, this is not as crisp as Asylum, but it felt similar in how fast he responds, the animations, and the core of its gameplay. You punch, grab, dodge, block, and counter-attack your way through enemies. You build up a focus bar to perform crippling attacks, which deal a ton of damage and knock out most of the enemies. You can even turn some of the big guys against them, grabbing their gun or turning them into an explosive. You can also go into Super Soldier mode by using all of the focus bars at once, and you deal more damage. I did wish that it was designed a little bit better. Like, once you activate it, the screen just kind of changes tone, and that's really about it. You don't get a special move or anything like that. Doesn't even feel like he moves any faster or anything. It's just like the screen changes color and you're more powerful. So you build up intel points by fighting, collecting ceramic eggs, finding film reels you can watch later. You're collecting Zemo's diaries. There are dossier folders, briefcases, files, and schematics that kind of give you upgrades like all attacks do more damage to warden enemies, a crippling strike will cause enemies to explode, they will stay down for longer, that kind of stuff. On top of all that, there's also 500 things you can destroy and make go boom, along with huge guns that you can find and sabotage. You're rewarded intel points by doing all of these things to upgrade Cap. You unlock more attacks that deal more damage, like hitting the ground with the shield, charging with the shield, and like one stronger punch. Of course, you can throw the shield automatically during fights, and with upgrades you can have it bounce off multiple enemies. You can also aim it manually if you want, and another upgrade allows you to lock onto enemies to take them out with one shield hit. You can also use the shield outside of combat for problem solving. It doesn't quite go exactly where we want it to go sometimes, but I did like how Cap would throw it differently depending on the angle. Combat was actually better than I expected it to be. It's pretty fluid. There's only a few enemy types. Some snipers that with some good timing you can send a bullet back to them. The shield blocking feels powerful, and it should be. In some instances, blocking feels like an attack because you will hurt the enemies and stun them. Some enemies have shields themselves that you can grab and disarm, and they're bigger enemies that shoot, others that have melee weapons, and then there's these other weird methed out dudes with force shields that kind of push you around. There's also a handful of boss fights here, and they're okay. There's really not much to them from a design standpoint. You just dodge and hit them until you trigger a quick time event. Pretty basic stuff, but because of the combat, I still found it to be pretty fun. They also add a few enemies to the mix while in boss fights, and it manages not to get overwhelming with so many bad guys. I did play the game on normal, and halfway through I felt like I should have bumped up the difficulty because it did felt a tad easy. I mean, enemy AI sometimes would just stand there, especially in these turret sections. So if I were to add something to the mix, it would have been firearm weapons. There are some sections like I showed here where you hop on a turret and shoot away, but Cap is not equipped with a handgun himself, and I think if he would have had one, it would have been cool. Maybe they couldn't figure out a way to integrate it smoothly with the combat. Maybe they were worried about the rating. This is rated T for teens. That would have forced them to make it a cover shooter, or they just couldn't figure out a way to do it. They would have really had to pull a Warhammer 40k Space Marine. The game was able to blend both the hand-in-hand combat and the cover shooter aspect perfectly. My point is, it did feel like the guns were kind of missing. There's little sections, like I said, that you hop on the turret and shoot, but that didn't really scratch my itch. I also was expecting some sort of bike level where I was chasing them down or something, like a helicopter or something, because I saw that in the movie, but no. It also feels like the game kind of wanted to have a stealth system. Even by enemy dialogue, they're looking for you and the way they're talking, and it seems like you should be able to sneak around and take them out, but you can't. But at the same time, if you do attack them from behind, you do start an animation where he knocks them out with one punch. Some sort of decent stealth system would have fit perfectly with this game. You could have a few sections where he's sneaking around trying to get past guards. It's not something crazy to expect. I mean, he literally does that in the movie. It's kind of weird because it feels like the game left moments for there to be stealth. Like during development, it was always an idea that they had the possibility of integrating, but then they just kept procrastinating it, and then they all of a sudden finish the game and forget to add that, and they shipped it like that. It very much could have been a crunch time issue, and maybe they took it out last second. I understand that. The layout and the way the levels are designed is a bit on the fence as well. The game is designed as linear. There are no side missions or anything like that, but the levels aren't designed super linear. There are corners that you can just start walking and there's no invisible wall or force field that impedes you for going wherever the hell you want. And it feels like everything is connected. You even get a map. But again, I say on the fence because yeah, sure, it's open, but there's really nothing else to do. There's no reason for it to be open like that. And even Cap himself starts saying little comments to lead you in the right path.
Feels like I'm straying off the path.
There's this whole sewer system that connects you to everything, but again, for what? I didn't get that. Towards the end of the game, you have to make your way to a specific area, and the game tells you can take 2 ways to get there. So there's a little bit of freedom there, but again, for what? There's nothing to find, or you don't run into another special villain or anything. I guess to explore and find collectibles, but it just didn't make a whole lot of sense. There's also some light platforming where you press a button to perfectly time the next jump, and if you do so, you gain a whole focus bar. But there would be some times where I wouldn't know exactly where I had to jump to. This is where more Arkham similarities come in. Just like most games after Arkham and Assassin's Creed, there's a detective mode where there's big bright lines show you the way. There was a couple instances because of the openness, like I said, that I did lose track of where I was supposed to go. This detective mode put me in the right spot. It was nothing too bad. There's 2 little mini games. One to sabotage. You have the hot wires where you must bring them as close as you can to try to get a spark, but not too close because you hurt yourself. But even if you hurt yourself, it's not a big deal because Cap just regenerates health. The other one is the code decipher to open doors. You have to find the letter or number that matches and put it over each other. And I like these too. They just felt like something different to me. They were easy to complete. They were not annoying at all. These were kind of cool. There's a couple of costumes that you can unlock as well, and as you go along, you also unlock levels in challenge mode, where you must beat the enemies before time runs out, you get medals, and you're awarded intel points. Again, very much like Arkham. After I finished the game in under 6 hours, I was pleasantly surprised how decent it was. Yeah, it's kind of short, but it wasn't broken at all. It's totally playable today, and I found it to be pretty fun. The combat more than anything. And you also get a sense of what it's like to control Captain America. Overall, I think it's a pretty good game. Is it one of the best movie tie-ins? No, but it's also not miles apart. If this game was a bit more polished or had more time to implement better ideas, this could have easily been an all-timer in the movie tie-in category, of course. I would put it a couple notches below Wolverine Origins, which that definitely could be the best movie tie-in game. I know that because I made a video on that game that you can check out. I'll leave the link in the description. Something told me to trust Sega for this game, and I guess Marvel did too because they also did the other Phase 1 MCU movie tie-in games, which I plan to check out in the future. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel for when those videos drop. And while you're down there subscribing, let me know your thoughts on Captain America Super Soldier and what other movie tie-in games I should check out. Thank you guys for watching. Remember to always and forever, you do you.